Confetti? Really?
Yeah,
You
just
want
shooting from like
confetti?
all angles. Yup. Or
I'll
every
be
time
like,
I say something crazy.
no, see that wouldn't no because
No.
well,
You could tell I've been around a kid for a while.
probably. Yeah, you know what? But we're not trying to talk to children. We're trying to really
You're right,
speak
you're
to
right, you're
some
right. Okay, let
this
me
ain't
get
this
out
ain't
of that mode real quick.
we're not, this ain't PBS. This is keeping
We're
it step.
adulting. Yeah, you're right. You're
This
very
is
right.
keeping it step. This is keeping it to episode 3. We got the honorable Luz on the call. This is I would say so far it's been a journey with these podcasts and the fact that not too recently, we first this actually the first time we've ever spoken on the phone was literally you making a withdrawal out the market.
Kind of fire.
As the first time we've ever spoken on the phone. But yeah, we've been in group chats and we're in kind of proximity. But
Yeah.
sometimes, you got to pick up the phone. But I want to let the audience get a taste of who you are. If you don't mind just introducing yourself, giving us a background, and we'll dive right into. I got some questions for you. Of course, I got some conversations we're gonna tackle. But I want to let people know who you are, what do you do, where you from, all that good jazz. If you don't mind.
Let's do this. So I actually did a call yesterday. It was the first time I wrote out a presentation to kind of break up the last couple of years because it's a lot. So my name is Luz. I'm from New York. Originally, I was that kid that did acting, modeling, dancing at a very young age. So my extracurricular looked a lot different, I would say, than most people. I did that for a little bit, and then closer to like middle school, when you're kind of coming of age, I would say it was that. I actually got an offer on one of my trips to move to LA, and me and my dad were like, I don't know if we're ready to take that type of risk yet, because they kind of wanted me out there for half a year just to really see, going back and forth with castings, making it work. But obviously, that making it work was coming out of our own pocket. So I straight up told my dad, like, I'm not really feeling this. And I walked away just to kind of fall into dancing a couple years later. I ended up going to a vocational high school, and that was a big part of my life because it was what really got me in that entrepreneurial spirit. Knowing that I was going to graduate with a license and a skill in my back pocket, that I didn't really have to depend on someone else to get a job. I kind of could have just used my skills, hair, makeup, whatever the case may be. And it was funny how it aligned with dancing because I really fell in love with makeup on stage. Like I would just be in my bathroom practicing for the next show, and then before you know it, Instagram launched, popped off. My friends were asking me to do their makeup, so I was like, oh, I could kind of make money off of this. But your friends always want the free 99. So I quickly was like, yeah, let me take this online. Let me see what I could do with it. And coming into high school, my last few years, college was kind of something, obviously, my parents were like, you need to go. What else do you think you're going to do? Build discipline, find something that you like, make it work. And I thought, oh, this is going to be great. Like, I'm going to go out of state. And I wanted to be independent. I thought I was going to live on my own at 18. And my dad, real quick, was like, if you're not bringing A's, I'm not paying for you to be on a campus partying and joking around. And I was like, okay, that's fair. I knew myself. But I was so immersed in the dance world already. We were traveling the world, competing professionally within the country, outside of the country, showcasing, again, everything coming out of pocket. So I wanted to put my license to use. One of my homegirls put me on to a job she was at. She was kind of like the phone manager. We don't even know what it was because it was kind of like a startup pop-up thing. I ended up working at hair salons. It was lit because not only was I on the floor, but I was by myself. It was a very different dynamic than all the hair salons my friends kind of were a part of. So I hustled. Like, I was taking people off the books, doing makeup, squeezing people in because one of my friends helped me get really fast. But even though all this sounds really exciting for someone who's a beauty entrepreneur and they probably are like, dang, you've done a lot, it all sounds fun. I said on my call yesterday, happiness is not enough. You could be doing what you like, but is it paying your bills? Is it helping you grow? Is it challenging you?
Mm.
And I found myself in just 3-4 years, I'm like, this is repetitive. I'm bored. I don't see growth. I don't see movement. I don't see my pockets being filled the way that I would think someone who's working 12 to 14 hours would be seeing, right? So thankfully, something called the pandemic happened. And it was the first time I was able to kind of sit still, and really think about what I was doing, how I was going about it. And I'm like, all right, it's been great. Everything that we've done, so many skills. Clearly, I'm disciplined. Clearly, I'm waiting it out. I don't need a trophy to determine if what I'm doing is valid or not. But I need to do something different. And at that time, I was online already for a couple of years. One of my dance friends was actually trying out a network marketing company, but we were selling beauty products, hair products, and all that. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to try it just to get myself out there, be intentional with strategy, really bring professionalism into what I've been doing. Because it was a lot of me talking, building a community, showcasing my creativity and my work. But it wasn't like I was really there to make money, if you know what I mean. Right? It's kind of like the entrepreneur who has chaos and plans and projects everywhere, but not a steady plan to make an income type thing. So through that company, I met my now mentor, Mina Moves. And it was funny how that happened because very quickly I hopped on a call. I heard her voice, her tonality, what she was talking about. I was like, I just know that I need to work with that girl. However, I'm going to connect with her, I don't know. And we were all in the transition, I guess, of looking for something new. Legit, like 2 weeks later, one of her homegirls, that was the girl who signed me up, her name's Melanie, I guess, I don't know, it was like from God, and I do talk a lot about God, not sorry. She reached out to me. She was like, hey, I'm going to Mina's house. We have something we want to talk to you about. Can you get on FaceTime? And I'm in the middle of TJ Maxx, like, what? I just saw this girl for the first time 2 weeks ago. You're telling me you're on your way to her house? Call me ASAP. I'll pick up. And they basically said they were looking for something different too, something of more value, something that they know people needed, something that was a skill. Instead of me just selling a product, I was actually bringing something to someone's life that they could take away, regardless if I was still around or not. To me, that sounded life-changing, and I am convinced that that was the point that I was at. All right, I've made people feel good. I've entertained people. I've performed. But what else? I need something deeper. I need something of impact. And we've been working together ever since. And that's how I know you, through the platform that we're on now. I was going to move, of how serious I was locked in. And the same day that my flight was, I was in the hospital getting checked out because I had a little baby cooking in my tummy. So a lot of things were changing, but one thing that never did was the fact that I knew that this whole online entrepreneurship, this digital entrepreneurship, was gonna let me be committed no matter what happened, no matter where I was living, no matter how I felt. I had the chance to show up simply because of the digital age. As long as I had a phone, I could be connected. As long as I had Wi-Fi in my laptop, I could be learning a skill. So it felt like I won the golden ticket, even though some people would think my life was chaotic. I changed from XYZ to ABC. It was always written, for me to just keep growing. And the person and the desires and the dreams that I had now match the skill sets that we have. Like, now it makes sense. But I had to grow through that, obviously. So 3 years in, I now day trade. I invest in crypto regularly. I take care of my kid. I'm with her every single day. I did move back to my parents' house legit just like 5 months ago, because I'm super serious about what we do. And I know that I need people that fully, blindly support me, that believe in me, that want to see me win. And it's where I feel most comfortable, even though physically I knew it was gonna bring a lot of old stuff back. So I'm definitely going through like another rebirth, right? I feel like we all think that's gonna happen once, twice, three. No, it happens all the time. It could happen every day. If you choose to really be as open-minded, to know that every day you could be hit with something that is gonna unlock a new level, is gonna give you a new breakthrough. And it's very healing because a lot of us don't talk about the things that we talk about. So I'll leave it at that. I don't know if you have any questions.
No, and we'll dive into it. No, but this, I wanted you to have your little open, little monologue. You know, kind of go ahead and cook it up one time. But there's some things I want to dissect. I want to let's not even speak investing for a second. I want to speak on this growth that you talk about, because the way that we look at growth, the problem that we have with growth now is that we were trained at a young age that growth is numerical. There's always a numeric value with growth. And that's not against what we've been trained, but like, even with, you can probably experience with your kid doesn't know numbers first. They know shapes, they know symbols, they know signs. They look at things, and then they're able to recognize it by touch. Then they see it, then they gotta touch it, then they gotta taste it before they even speak it. So, but then when we get older, we start using our senses less, and then we start going into counting. Like, okay, now that everything can be graded on, I can now measure my worth. I can measure my worth numerically because, okay, if I'm a kid in school, we all know what the target is. The target is getting there in that class, because then the next target is this. Based off of your growth and your history, there wasn't no set targets for you. Your father tried to give you a target by saying that if you don't get A's, I won't pay. Right? And you're
Right.
like, okay, but in the world of dance, in the world of beauty, in the world of what you do, there isn't a numerical target. You kind of have to make it up, because in the world of dance is very, and as somebody who doesn't, I don't dance, but I know how to, because it's because of this band. Like, I can do, I did ballet for 2 years. Like, that's as much as like actual dance classes that I did. Yeah, I did ballet for 2 years. I know all the foot positions, dégagés, ronde-de-jambes, all that kind of stuff. Dégagés, I can do all that kind of stuff. Jazz running, jazz walking, I did all that. That's just because I did marching band. But how, in your period of, I want to speak on this dance in your entrepreneurship beginning journey, because obviously you're back at your parents' house, but I want to start early on. What did you use as your measurement of growth? So let's get specific. In the, let's say, beauty industry, I see a lot of, to give you context, I see a lot of women and men, whether it's fashion, whether it's makeup, whether it's that, and it's hard for you to tell if they're really making it or not. Are they really making it? Yeah, they got these little lash, you got teeth whitening people, you got cosmetology, but it's almost like everybody's a cosmetologist, everybody's a lash tech. How did you recognize, okay, I'm actually making it in the beauty industry? How did they figure that out? Because that's always been something I've been curious about. And so, like, what is your measurement for growth, especially in the beauty industry, when anybody can look pretty with makeup, they can look good with their hair? So how can you really tell you're really doing a good job?
This is
Like, how do you measure
insane
that?
because you said so many things. First of all, with the whole kid thing, I know you said before you're childless, so you can't really relate to what I was saying, but that's an amazing foundation because a lot of people don't even think like that. And that's why I say I always appreciate your POV, because you really unlock some stuff and you get me thinking. I think that's what it was, that according to me, I didn't see that progress. I guess in the beginning, like I was saying, Instagram launched before I really fell into makeup. So that was a whole new thing where I'm like, whoa, this is a tool that no one has used yet. How could I get on it? What am I going to bring to it, right? What are my friends using it for? And
Yeah.
then shortly after, YouTube was a whole mafia when it came to everything. Not only like Vine culture and creator culture, but the makeup industry was sickening. Like, they were taking these people on trips to launch new products, and they were dropping videos every other day. Halloween was a huge thing, which I don't celebrate anymore. That one was hard for me to let go, but funny enough how things just, when you have to let them go, they just disappear, you know? Like, it doesn't even phase you. I was using the wrong measurement. I had hopes of being on YouTube and growing a community on there. I was definitely comparing myself to these influencers that grew very quickly. But of course, it was
James
because,
Charles,
I'm sorry?
James
Oh,
Charles,
James Charles.
Haley,
So
Rihanna,
it's
with
funny.
like
It's funny because by that time, you know, little old me with the way I think, I really sat down, I analyzed, and I was like, would I even want to be a part of this? Like, if I was to be invited to a launch trip, would I even fuck with these people? Like, what they believe
wait.
in
So
and
is
their
it
morals
wait
and
a
their
launch
values?
trip? You said a launch trip. Wait. Back up. A launch trip, meaning that they paid, like what we see now, right? You'll pay a creator with a lot of influence over to, okay,
Bora
bet, okay,
Bora, Turks and Caicos. The brand would rent out like ridiculous stuff and they would vlog it. So of course, all of us influencers and creators are like, oh, let me just do like 300 looks with all the products that I'm gonna buy in hopes of them seeing my page and then paying for me to go and then giving me free PR. But again, PR doesn't pay the bills. A trip don't pay the bills. It gets you out there. But like you said, how do you know if people are really making it? And it came to light that a lot of them weren't. So immediately I was like, I don't want to do this no more. I don't have to do this anymore. This is not the life that I want. I'm not doing this for trips and for glamour and for looks. I'm doing it for impact, right? But I thought my impact, like you said, was making someone feel good. After that dopamine hit, I was there like, all right, what else is there for me to do? Because I got a lot of energy. I have a lot of stuff that I'd rather be doing, like we were saying. And it just felt very empty for me. So I don't think that I had a target in the beauty industry, really, because it turned me off before I even got there. I knew that that wasn't my tribe. You know, I knew that it was a very surface level type of lifestyle. And what they were advocating and pretending to be, I saw right through it. And thank God, like 2-3 years later, look at it. I mean, you don't have to be a beauty influencer to know that a lot of them came crashing down. A lot of them have a lot of cases against them. They were involved in some weird stuff. Like, yeah, it gets crazy. A lot of legal weird stuff. Listen, where there's money, you know, there's
let's get
drama.
juicy. You brought it up. Let's get juicy now. I need one
So,
situation.
the beauty industry. Oh gosh. Let's just rip
Just
off the
one.
band-aid.
There's a
One
there's
that's
a there's a
bad enough because I'm a mom now. I don't really like anything that makes anyone look like they're in a situation where they'll be named a pedo. Yeah. I guess that's the worst of the worst, because what could be worse than that? I mean, fake deals, of course. Incentivized deals, of course. Like, that's expected. In my eyes, these things are expected. I know where there's a lot of money, there's a lot of evil too, right? It just comes with it. Like, people get confused when, like you said, oh, I make 7 figures now. Who's gonna tell me no? Happens everywhere. And beauty
a
industry is catty as fuck. So, not for me. I hung up my brushes. I mean, my brushes are right there. I still freelance. But to be a face, to be known for that, I'm good. You know? There's things that I value more than being known as just a makeup artist. Some people might get offended. I could care less. That's like 10 years of my life I've already kind of put in the back burner.
right.
On to bigger and better stuff.
I want to, and it's interesting. The, not a PO, it's crazy.
I
But
know.
I want to. What's so interesting, like that what I'm pretty much conceptualizing about beauty. There's a fine line where beauty is a part of your life versus then it's beauty becoming your life. And what we start to realize is there's a difference between I'm doing beauty because there's other people that don't have self-confidence to feel beautiful, and that's where the passion's at, which is fine. But then there's also that side of the industry where there's a lot of reward for masking you. And
Oh,
this is where
1000%.
like I even had aspirations of being a model. I had a lot of people were
You
like,
could
"Yo,
do
bro, you
it.
can be a model. You have a great smile." And but then I remember telling my friends the only reason I won't model is because when I look at models, they're not smiling. There's no smiling involved. I don't see a hint of their personality. It is a what I've and this is not to bash a model, but what modeling literally to me looks like is you are a moving, living canvas for somebody else's vision. That's really what modeling is. You now have to cater to someone is going to paint a picture on your physical body in the form of garments, in the form of hairstyles and makeup to portray an image to the audience that they're looking to get out of you. You know, like when I see artists and like even famous artists like you look at like Drake, you look like Drake going to these like I never understood. We still in 2024. Why are we advertising the fall collection for 2025 already? We haven't even gotten through 2024, and I get it. There's a world for that. I understand there's a whole world, and there's clubs and there's cliques. But then I look at it like people will be like, "Hey, you gotta watch the Met Gala for what reason?" Oh, because they're just people are gonna look good. Yeah, but I'm too broke to be even. Why would I? I would rather be there. I would rather
Mm-hmm.
be at the Met Gala. I'd rather be invited. But once again, you got to be inside the club. You got to be inside those little cliques.
That's a
And
whole
then,
other.
yeah, it's a whole nother thing. But then even now, and I want to segue into this piece that you talked about being the hair salon because you talked about you're a person with a lot of energy. The money aspect of the beauty industry, what I feel like there's a lot of it's really a bottleneck experience, and let me explain that the pipeline for beauty, there's really only one to two successful ways to make it. Either you yourself gotta bust your ass and get you self promoted, or you gotta become somebody else to have brands promote you. Well, you were at that salon chair and you help somebody out because I like your heart's like, man, I'm so glad I felt good. Was there a moment you even slightly considered, you know what, I might need to go take this trip? Was there ever a slight moment? You be honest, where you're like, you know what, I think I need to go do that to make this happen. Were there moments like that where you began to question the validity of your own practice, even though morally you knew what you was doing was right?
Meaning, like, if I had the chance to collab with one of those big brands or something? Is that what
Yeah,
you're
like if
saying?
a like Yeah, if it well, look, we're just talking reflectionary because when we talk about today, I'm gonna make it make sense. But
Yeah.
in that period, young loose, no kid, traveling, moving around, full of energy, was there a moment you're like, you know what, I might need to go with these brands. I might need to see
Of
what this is about.
course. So the funny thing, and I posted a reel not too long ago, I just want to disclaim this. Um, as a creator, I mean, I could legit go dye my hair red tomorrow. Like, people see videos of me from before and after, and they're like, oh my God, like, you've changed so much. Like, even your physical appearance, right? When people try to comment, because I'm very open about my spirituality and my walk. Yeah, there's been changes, but I'm still that girl that tomorrow I will literally want to dye my hair red. So when we attach growth or transformation so much to our physical appearance, it's one thing. But what you're touching on is, I used to think that I was strong enough in my own power to be able to do that, because I always said, well, maybe I'll just infiltrate for a couple of years. Maybe I'm the one that's going to change the industry. And Kylie Cosmetics actually did engage with me a couple times. And, you know, every time something happens, right? Every time you get a new like, every time that new brand or person recognizes you, you think you made it. You're like, oh, snap, I'm going viral. Like, this is it. And at that point in my life, I kind of already knew it wasn't going to happen. I'm like, I've been talking crazy. Even when I was modeling and acting as a 12-year-old girl, where I had to ask my manager for permission to cut my hair, I was like, I don't know how much I really like this, because I've always known I don't want no one to tell me what to do. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the Colombian or Dominican blood. I don't know if it's the female hormones. I don't know what it is, but I have always just been that girl to kind of wrestle with authority. So I knew it wasn't going to work out. I knew it, because no one was going to shut me up about the things that I felt like I had to talk about. You know, and
I mean, yeah, because you have that. You're in those moments where your voice is going to get stripped, and then you don't want to. You wrestle with the idea of do I keep my voice? Do I keep my voice and risk losing the Do I keep my voice and risk losing the connections, or do I lose my voice and keep my integrity in the industry that I'm in?
And you want to know what's wild?
What's
Not to
up?
cut you off, but because you just touched on that, and I realized this morning, I wrote it on my story too. I did lose my voice for a very long time. Probably for like a good 2 years. Since my daughter was born, it was like, okay, what are we actually going to do? Because now I'm not living just for me. And everything I put out there is not only risking my life and fingers pointed at me, but it's going to trickle down to her. One day she's aware enough and she could watch her mommy's videos. What if she's like, Mom, you're batshit crazy. Why were you talking about that stuff? Or she could be for it and be like, I'm so grateful that this is what you instilled. So I
That's what you
did.
left behind.
I didn't even really have to, you know, because fear and self-doubt, and I mean, you get emotional, and there's definitely been times where I'm like, I could have gone about this conversation so much different. But at least one thing that's always been felt, and the people that should feel it told me, like, nah, your passion, even if it's online, is felt. Don't stop. Thank you for this. I'm so glad you touched on that. I never knew this. Wow. If it wouldn't have been because of a conversation or a DM or a live, that's where I thrive, because I'm like, okay, that's what I do it for. Not for
We need
likes.
that feedback.
All the
We need
time. I
some kind of feedback.
appreciate it, because I still doubt myself all the time, you know? It's my first go at a lot of things. I mean, one of my friends tells me all the time, he reminds me, it's your first time at life. It's the same with our parents. It's their first time at life, right? And I joke around and I'm like, oh, so you don't believe in reincarnation? But that's a whole other topic. But I'm just like that. I always got to give a clap back. I can't stay quiet. You know, it's like I like to challenge people and see what they have to say. But at the same time, there's so many views that I respect, and so many views that I know are a big part of people's culture and why they think the way that they think, that it's hard for me to disregard that. You know, unless we're talking about like extreme violence and like other dark stuff. But when it really comes to belief systems and cultural things like that, I'm always intrigued. I'm always curious. I always want to hear another person's perspective, because what makes someone all across the world right and me wrong, or vice versa? Who's to say we're not both trying to have the same POV, but we just have lived it a little differently, you know?
Yeah, you know what's interesting, and I don't want to cut off your wisdom because you're diving into something that I like. You spoke on your POV, and you speak out of the POV, and you never know who's listening. You know who's talking about. We always talk about point of view is POV. I always like to I always like to look. I always like to define POV. Almost, we always talk about point of view. Like, I always think about perspective or vantage, because think about it. Like, POV is also different perspective. So, and the vantage point. Think about this for a second. We can have the same point of view. We can have the same exact perspective, but our vantage points, our vantage of what we're looking at to get the perspective, it can be at different levels. So it's like, example, we both go hiking. If I climb higher than you, my vantage point is going to be a lot higher than yours. But we can have the same perspective of how we view this mountain. We know this mountain is tall. We know this mountain was a lot. So we have the same viewpoint of how we view the mountain, but then it's up to us to decide where we're going to stop and create that view. That's where POV and vantage points come from, because we can have the same perspective. We can all be like, you know what? So we're going to tackle this too. The beauty industry is wild. I don't want to be involved in it. Okay, we have the same exact perspective. But now, where does your view come in? Why? Now, where do you view beauty? We all have the same perspective. We're like, we know that this is a sham. We know this is bad. But now, okay, where are you viewing it? Your perspective, from your point of view in the beauty industry, was from the salons and brand deals. Somebody else can look at the umbrella of beauty and go from a cosmetologist standpoint, or somebody who does lashes and nails, or someone who travels.
Yep.
Males, we're barbers. We do barbers. We do massages. And then I think the beauty industry is super sexualized, but I think we've over sexualized beauty, but which I think is also super sickening. Like, we don't have to make everything sexual, especially in that world. Like, just give me a lineup, dude. Like, you don't like give me a lineup, or you know what I mean? Like, I don't need all the gold masking and the massaging of the face is cool. But then it's like, even now, you look at some of the female barbers now, the only way they're getting advertised is they cut a dude's hair, and then some streamer who's really a gooner, who's really just horny, found a pretty Dominican barber, because I've seen it. Dominican barber, there's a whole barbershop in the Dominican Republic right now that's been advertised a lot. That's literally all females, and they all got big asses. And they all cut people's hair.
I saw that on my TikTok. I'm like, why is this girl like? I'm trying to see the cut, and the booty is taking half of the screen.
But think about it right there. The perspective, our point of view at looking at this now, has turned from not cutting anymore, but who's doing the cutting. And this is why I'm talking about this, because now you went from this girl who was all by herself. Your perspective and viewpoint in your point of view or vantage of the world was there. It's just me. Whatever I see, I can go forward on. I don't have to look to my side anymore. You don't have to look to your side. Now you have a kid involved. It's like in your parents' house, which is fine, because I just moved out of my parents' crib. Like, I just moved out of my parents. I've been in my parents' crib since me and my girl got into a very nasty fight back in pre-COVID. I was living with my parents for a solid 5 years. I tried to move out of the apartment anyway. That's another story for another day. But your point of view went, your point of view went from it's just about me to now it's still about me, but now but the impact that I leave now can residually trickle on to my girl, to my kid. How do you? I want to word this right. How did you change how you articulate your passion, knowing that your impact is going to be residually affected to your girl? How do you transition? Like, I know you went by yourself, and the kid was kind of a shock, and the pandemic happened, but I get it. But now I want to speak on Liz now. Like, okay, so how do you articulate your passion now, your voice now, knowing that your residual impact is going to land on your kid? How do you do that? Because I know some people can't.
I'm winging it, dude. It's again.
You know what? I like it.
Yeah, like, so to give a little backstory, nothing crazy. I recently split with her dad, right? And I thought we were aligned completely. Like, I feel like I come on very strong. I talk a lot. I'm more honest than I should be, I think, because we don't realize that honesty puts you in a vulnerable spot and people don't owe you anything. So just because you're honest doesn't mean that you're necessarily always going to get the feedback that you think you should get, right? And people change. We were together almost 6 years. So a lot changes. He was close to 20. I'm a little bit older than him, 23. I'm about to be 29. So I would say from 23 to 29, I've probably been 2, 3 different types of people. And she was born in 22. So that is something I'm learning day to day. Because although I post a lot, you can hear her. This is her concert time. So y'all are going to hear her in the background. It turned from very like one-sided, what Luce thinks, what she wants to talk about. Even though I was posting a lot, still very personal, because I was even very careful of her not even being on my camera. If I was going to be on live, she's outside of the room. If I was to do my events, make sure, okay, focus, she's either with my mom or with her dad. And we're not in a time where people are impacted by perfection anymore. That whole like perfect aesthetic, I think, comes from like my warped beauty views. And now I realize, well, this is motherhood. And what pops off, what impacts is the pain points. For some reason, people like when I was told this today, I was given this feedback. People enjoy when I talk about being at my parents'. And people love when they hear her running in the background and coming to interrupt me. And they get to see that moment where I have to like switch, and I make it about her and I'm having a conversation because I'm very real with her. I've always felt it's not because I'm her mom, I promise. But I feel like she's had an inner knowing for a while. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to speak to you like you're a real human who understands emotions, and you understand when my demeanor changes and you feel my energy switch. And shockingly, when I do speak to her in a very serious tone and I'm being vulnerable with her too, she understands and she calms down. When I tell her, like, I know, baby, you don't like the phone, but we played, we did our routine. Mama either could go work outside and you don't see her all day, or mama could work here and I could be on my phone and play with you whenever you want. And I think that's the attitude I'm having with what I show online, letting now moms know, yes, this has been about me and my desires and what I aspire, but funny enough, it's always been valuable enough to let you guys know that my big dreams don't have to just be mine. You're a mom too, right? So what's most important to us? Our time, the memories, these phases, these seasons and milestones that we can't press repeat and have another chance to live through. So how are we making it worthwhile? What are you doing on your day-to-day to make sure that you're going to be able to be there for your daughter? That you don't have to go and give your salary to have someone else take care of them. So I think that's the attitude I've been targeting. Like, let people know I'm serious. This is not a game. I'm not talking about making money online because it's aesthetic. It's legit what will allow me to raise her or not. I was questioning my decisions from 5 years ago, the whole first year of her life, holding it over my head like, oh my God, I shouldn't have quit my job. Oh my God, I suck. Why did I drop out of school? And these were like beliefs that people were putting into my head. It wasn't stuff that I felt. That I later was like, maybe I did mess up, right? But you can't hold it over 20-year-old Luce, what 28-year-old Luce is going through now. Like, are you kidding me? Who would have known? It wasn't in the plans. Like, sure, there's risks to everything that you do, but it was never in my plans. So how do I bring that grace for other moms that I know are struggling? Because other moms don't have community. Other moms don't have family members that talk about, like I said, what we do. They could care less to have a conversation about how you feel. They just tell you, get up, go do what you got to do, and that's it. Stop whining because you have it good, you're in America, well, you're not by yourself, or you could get food stamps, or like all the reasons as to why your feelings are not valid. But sometimes we got to put our feelings in our back pocket and just take action if you really want change to happen. It's not so much about validating them, just being aware and telling yourself your plan. You know, what is it that you want? Are you going to do what it takes to do it? And I think that's what I've done. I'm being authentic. I'm being raw. I'm letting people know, like, listen, y'all want me to talk about this? I'm going to talk about it the way that I want to, because this is my page and this is my life. And if you want to be a part of it, the follow button is there. But if you don't, the unfollow button is also there. Like, I'm not going to be everyone's cup of
Don't need
tea.
to. Yeah, not everybody's cup of tea. So no, that's funny. That's funny. Continue.
Yeah, like, I'm just making sure that she sees that everything that I'm doing is we're ahead of it. We're ahead of the game. This whole like online digital shift, it's, yeah, people, like you said, people want to make it pretty and attractive. I just want to be the boss of my time. And this is the way to do it. So she's born into a world that the options are endless. And I think early on she sees that, because how many daughters can say like, well, I always remember being with my mommy. Like, even one of my mentors said her daughter was like, she was giving her bad fame, saying her mom doesn't work, that her mom doesn't have a normal job. Because why? She's an entrepreneur who runs her own online business, and mommy takes her to school, and mommy picks her up, and mommy takes her to the soccer games, and mommy's always there. So it's already like just how we've been programmed. Otherwise, go to school, get a 9 to 5. My daughter's programmed in exactly what I want her to learn. You have a choice. You decide what you're going to put your focus on, right? What skills you want to learn. You want to go to school? Great. Guess what? Mama has trading money. I could pay for whatever school you want. Or we could do it your way. We could do it at home. All the sports that you want. We'll go travel. We'll go this. Like, some people are afraid of that. You know, they're afraid of giving their kids options, but you can have discipline and still have options. It's more of a parenting style. It's more of a commitment with yourself. I think that when people, I mean, your kids are a reflection of you. Who do they grow? Like, I watch my daughter and it blows my mind. I'm like, you've been watching me do that since you've been born? Because I didn't sit down and tell you to do that. It's a behavior that I can tell is instinctual now. So many things that she does that I do, I'm like, what? How did I slip up with that already? So even if she's loud, but I'm on watching my sessions, watching my charts, personal development videos, subconsciously she's hearing a different language. You know, like, I'm very aware that her ears, her mind, her eyes are open. One day she may say, Mommy, this is boring. Who's that old man talking? Or she's gonna just already have, like you said, that range, right? That vantage. Her vantage point is gonna be so much greater than mine was. And it's not, I'm not criticizing my parents at all. It's just we have more access to stuff. She's around the phones, around the YouTube, the audios, the books all the time. So I think it's so, it's such an instinctual thing now. I have such a routine that it's naturally going to happen for her, you know, and she's either going to dig it or not. It's still going to be a big part of her life because it's what she's always seen since she's been born. So, I mean, I hope that answers the question.
No, it beautifully does. It beautifully answers the question, because what you've dove into is the subconscious ability that children have. but then the lack of subconscious awareness that we have and knowing how influence truly works. That influence is not something that is heard. Influence is a combination of your senses formulating information quickly to then gain to then make a decision. It happens super fast. But what people have to understand, and especially with me having the aspiration to being a father, where I truly believe that two-parent households is the best thing since sliced bread. Because I think you spoke on this a little bit, where it was like a lot of mothers, there's being single was not cool. Like people back then shamed you for if you were single and did not have any kids. You were shamed publicly. People literally clowned you. You're like, you're not married? You don't have any children? That was literally a thing not too long ago.
Mm-hmm.
Then it gets publicized. Now it becomes popular. And so it's not just seeing it once that now your attitude and behavior change. It doesn't take one time. It takes repeated actions over and over and over again for you to then inherit behavior. Because you can teach anything, but what's being inherited is going to leave the mark. And I think there's an opportunity for, I pray that this generation really wakes up to the ideal that, like you just said, your kids are a reflection of you. But also at the same time, one of my great mentors, Steve Bolden, always says that they're going to do 50% of the things you say anyway, but they're going to 100% do the things that you do. Because they would rather rely on what they see versus what they hear. They trust what they see, but they don't trust what they hear. Because even now, we don't even trust what we hear. Someone can tell you something completely outlandish or something completely factual. Great example. All right, cool. Trading is a great way for you to get reparations out the market. Sounds nice, but I need to see it. Children is the same way. Hey, don't touch that. It's hot. It's hot, Johnny. It's hot, Johnny. Don't touch it. Okay, Mom. They heard you. Then they burn themselves. Now it's like if you told themselves. But what's interesting, when you spoke on with your daughter, with your kid now, already picking up the habits that you have. You didn't teach her it. All she did was just learn. She learned from her environment.
I thought she wasn't even seeing me.
Nope. You're always being looked at. You're always being viewed. And I think that allows for myself, even now, it's so funny. It's this, I forgot what kind of point of view it's called. But we have, I always think that there's this camera behind my head, always looking around. I look at my life that there's always a camera right above me, always looking around, kind of like a third-party perspective, like I'm playing GTA. I'm always being looked at. I'm always being watched. Somebody is watching me somewhere. And is this slight paranoia?
Well, I have another belief for that, because I'm the same exact way, but I've morphed it into, now I know why I've always had that inner feeling. Maybe for another episode, but
no, talk about it. Because we on it. You might as well. So what's that belief? Let's talk about it. Let's unpack that belief.
That's God. God's always watching. Your creator's always watching you. And that's been heavy every day. I wake up and I'm like, okay, I could lie to everyone. I could lie to myself. But he made me. He knows parts of my heart. I have yet to remember why it's the way that it is. Because we also rediscover, right? Imagine 30 years of a timeline. My biggest question lately has been, okay, what happened before age 5? What happened 0 to 5 that I don't remember? What happened between 12 to 18 that I might have blacked out? What happened in my previous relationship that, because we were spending time every day, there's stuff that's fuzzy. But all of it is wiring how we react, how we feel, how we think, right? So how dangerous is it that we're literally a machine, but sometimes we don't even know why we're moving the way that we are. So, you know, maybe it was hopes of being on reality TV, having cameras all over you, but
Yes, yes. Because no lie, there was a period in my life where I'm like, man, I felt like the main character. And I'll tell you where I shifted away from being this main character energy. So it was in college. One of the first things I experienced stepping on my college campus was being told that I'm not black enough. And I went to an HBCU. And it wasn't because I was black enough in the aspect of who I am in my skin. It was the way I articulated my words and the diction and vocabulary that I decided to choose. Because my environment at the time was predominantly white. I had a two-parent household with mom and dad, and then going into a completely different area where the average person on my campus that I met, I didn't meet everybody, but it was almost that there was this persona that, oh, I came from a single parent household. Like it was almost trendy. It was like every person I met, it was rare for me to see, even at graduation, even when I went to band competitions, I didn't see both the mom and dad supporting. It was really like the mom was there, or then the dad was there, and then at graduation. Now, but that and my dad and my mom said this. She said, Aaron, maybe the reason why you struggle with meeting people is because you always look for remnants of your home outside of the home. You want to be around people that make you feel like home, even because that's what you're familiar with. And this is that instinctual thing that we're talking about with kids. And that's why people will seek out wisdom. They want mentorship. They want to be mentored. They want to change their life. But yet they're not ready to get rid of the familiarity of the people that they're around because those people remind them of their home. So you know that whole phrase that they talk about, oh, you surround yourself by the five people. If you surround yourself by five people, four people, then you become the fifth. I want to debunk that a little bit because the reason why I want to debunk that is because that's not always inherently true. Because really, it's not the people, it's not even the people that you want to be around. It's the attachment that's the environments and the experiences that they have that you want to attach yourself to. So you might want to be around rich folk, but don't want to do rich activities. You just want to be associated with the experiences of having money. You don't necessarily want to be homies with your friend, but yet they gave you the best experiences that you remember. You just said it yourself. What parts of my life that I don't remember, but yet for whatever reason, we have now associated the good times with doing degenerate activities. And so we become friends with those people that allowed us to operate in those degenerate moments, which is either getting drunk, your 21st birthday, smoking weed for the first time, losing your V card, going to parties, going on those road trips, late night sitting around cookout in North Carolina, like cookout at 3 a.m, the late night studies. Like we have now familiarized people, not just because of the people, but because of an experience or an event that we experienced with that person. Now we go to that person because we want to relive that experience. And
that's really good because that's on point.
I don't think that's why I don't like the phrase makes sense. It's cool. Surround yourself, change the people that you're around and you're going to change. I'll take it a step further. It's not just the person. You need to get around people with the experiences that you are looking to experience. That's when you can really tell the person, because the person at the end of the day, you don't know what kind of baggage that person is carrying. You don't know what kind of background that kind of person is carrying. And what's so interesting, I would attract the right person that was built for me, but yet behind the scenes of that person, I didn't want. But yet I gave the person the benefit of the doubt. And it's like, it's not you. It's the experiences that you come with that you've inherited. You know that I have to deal with that, or I have to then absorb it some way, somehow. At some point, it's gonna get absorbed.
It's inevitable.
It's inevitable. because we are just like children. We absorb and we connect without really saying anything. So um I think it's so powerful that now that you've gained that level of perspective, that God's eye view, we'll call it the God's eye view. And I like to call it the video game view because it's like gamifying your life. But we'll throw God in here. Like there's a God's eye view that we have, and understanding that everything around us gets affected in some way, shape, or form. And this is where the more that we become aware of that, and will it get scary? Oh, of course it gets scary. Jordan Peterson said this best. If you're gonna ask yourself the questions, you better be ready for the bloody answer. So don't get ready to ask yourself, why am I struggling? Why am I broke? Why don't people like me? Why can't I maintain a relationship? Why can't I do X, Y, Z? Why do I think everything is a scam? Why am I comfortable going to a job? Even though deep down in my heart I shouldn't be here, but yet I'm comfortable doing it. Why can't I let go of certain people? You're not ready for those answers, then don't ask those questions. But then also you can't expect me to have sympathy for you because you're not willing to answer those questions for yourself, but yet you go online looking for other people to validate the questions that you should be asking yourself.
Give me one second.
And then you wonder why your kids act.
It's bedtime. It's okay. She be chilling. You're gonna go. Oh, are we gonna come? Just hang out with me. No crying. You cried a lot today. Yeah. But yeah, you're on point.
And I wanna add this. I want to speak on to you've been a mom. You went from okay, this is Luz's life. This is what she's doing. She's doing it for herself. Now you have the kid involved. Now the kid comes in the picture, shuts down your entire world. You went, okay, reflection. I wanna ask you this. What are some of the hard questions that moms who want to be entrepreneurs like you are too afraid to ask themselves and they don't want to hear the answer for it?
Oh my
What
God,
are some
so
questions
many.
that you believe that moms, and give me like five good ones that you know, that these are questions that you see moms that want to be entrepreneurs run away from and don't want to really hear the truth and the truthful answer. What would be a couple questions that you believe that they don't?
One of them would be, what have you been doing with your time before they came around? Another one is, what are you willing to change for this to work? Because it is going to take some time. Right after that, are you willing to pay your dues? Because people think, oh, because I'm putting in the action and I've been doing this for 6 months and a year. But like you said, what if what you inherited is from 100 years ago? You think you're going to break that in 1 year? No. 3?
Sometimes the
Probably
curse is
not.
not, you're not going to break the curse. I wish people can understand. Maybe you're not the person to break the generational curse.
And I had that thought the other day because I was like, am I really the one? Like, you think I'm this strong? You think I'm this wise? Or it's not about me. It's about the time I was born into. Because in the book, The Psychology of Money, I love the way that book started out. Baby, you're going to hit your head. Be careful, please. I love the way it started out because one of the chapters is kind of like no one's crazy, right? How could you expect someone that was born into war and genocide to have the same perspective as someone who was born into yachts and mansions? They're not going to. Part of success is luck. Part of
There's that
success
vantage point.
really just,
That
yep.
vantage.
So are you willing to do what it takes? You know, this one might be just off the top of my head, but what define your weaknesses? What do you feel like will make you fold? Going back to the beauty thing, right? If I would have gotten a 6-figure check, would I have stayed quiet for a year or two? And if they're saying, well, you got to sign an NDA, you can't say this or that. Most single moms, 6-figure check, they'd all say the same thing. Well, I'm doing it for my daughter. I'm doing it for my family. What type of sacrifices are you willing to actually, withstand or do? Sacrifice could be that too. I look at me, listen, for a long time, I've thought of going into clock into a job just for the instant gratification. But that to me is a bigger sacrifice than what I'm doing now, because I don't see depth in a job. I don't see the value in the monetary aspect when staying here and still making money, but maybe a little bit slower. But I get the time. I get the experiences with my kid. I get to be the one who's feeding her, who's changing her diapers, who's, excuse me, are you gonna fall off of the bed, girl? But it's, how long are you gonna wait it out? How long are you willing to give yourself? Do you even have a limit? There shouldn't be one, because you can't lose if you don't quit. I mean, there's no plan B, C, D, Z. Like, it's this or this. I made that decision as soon as I found out I was pregnant. Now, I'll be a liar if I said I didn't have, running thoughts, but that's the inheritance that I'm rewiring. And I know it's going to come back every day. I know it's going to come back depending on what our day looks like, if my daughter pissed me off today or not. But you make a rule, you make a law. It's this or this. Wow. Can you not, my love? You could fall like that. So I think was that 4? Was that 5?
Yeah, no, you've given some good questions. I'll throw one into the mix. Are you living your life through your kid? Because
so
one thing that okay, talk to me.
Glasses on. You look so cute. I can't be that mom. I already feel it. It's not healthy for her or for me. I am very much figuring myself out still. I've always considered myself to be a late bloomer because I was surrounded by a lot of protection and a lot of love. And I used to think it made me a little naive, meaning I really want to give most people the benefit of the doubt. And although my mind can go very dark sometimes, I usually it's weird. Like, I don't want to trust people. I say that I don't, but in the back of my heart, I hope I can trust you. I know I'm going to put something on for you. Don't worry. And I know that I'm a person. I mean, I've been working on making my dreams come true for what feels like forever. So for me to backtrack on that, and just because she's around, assume that making her my reason for everything, that's a lie.
Why? And I don't get why people are just not honest. Just say that.
Because I think most people aren't taught that that's a normal thing. Like how you say main character energy, I believe we all have that. But it's just, there's personalities, right? And then there's conditioned learning, and then there's like new stuff that we learn, Some of us are just really wired differently. Some of us will always be more passive or more aggressive or more passionate than other people. And the fact that I know that about myself already, like, it's not that mama needs a break, but if you want me to be efficient, give me an hour. Let me just go, like, breathe air that we're not sharing, because this is new to me too. And it's normal for you to feel overstimulated, because my life did not look like this the past 25 years. It's only been this way the past 2. So for me to hold an unrealistic standard that I'm supposed to be at my best, and it's supposed to be fun every hour of the day, and I'm a horrible person, like, mom guilt is another episode in itself. Do I struggle with it? Of course, it's normal. But I've been able to be gracious. I've had a lot of conversations with God. He says, you're my daughter, and just as you see yours, I still see you that way. I'm still learning. I'm still new to this. Very, very new to this. New to a lot. New to entrepreneurship as a mom, as an investor, and new to this life of, you know, unlocking a strength that I didn't know I had within, because I was just sick and I don't get sick, but she was sick. She got me sick. And my first thought was, I don't accept this because I gotta be up tomorrow by 6 a.m. I don't, no, I don't allow myself to get sick, okay? Because I need to be on top of it. She needs to eat. She wants to play. I have stuff to do. Don't accept it. So me trying to live through my kid, I think that comes from a very, that comes from a lot of abuse, like from verbal, emotional, obviously family dynamics that were not healthy at all. But just because it's not healthy, it doesn't mean that 90% of us weren't raised that way.
Hey,
We just know a
we
little
will dive,
more now.
we can dive deep into that because I think some people do know. I think some people do know. They are very well aware, but yet what's more profitable is playing the victim card. That's just me.
Always.
It's more it's more profitable. And we need to we're gonna loop this back because I know you're a woman of your time. And I felt like there was a lot of topics that we can dive deeper into. But like this is definitely gonna be something we definitely need to speak on some more. I first of all just appreciate your time, not only just giving us a glimpse into motherhood, the beauty industry a little bit more. I would advise to you to continue yourself, give yourself grace in this journey, in this process. As you, like you said, you are still learning. And I think the lesson that a lot of these moms can understand is a couple things. The moment when instead of just looking forward all the time, you got to look forward and sideways because you got somebody coming onto you. That is the moment in time where it's going to take more energy out of you to be even more hyper aware of your surroundings. And this is my heart, the only way you can do that is you have to be in a financial position to create to leave. And I talked about this on my last podcast. You need to create space in your mind away from finances so you can build that awareness. So yes, it is going to take for you to make a little bit more money for you to create space in your mind where finances is not the problem anymore. Now you can instill new habits and new things and build that awareness for yourself and for your kid. And don't be afraid to still do things for you. Yes, will it be called selfish? Would you be called selfish? Absolutely. Like, shoot, if you want to get biblical, Jesus was super selfish on his purpose. He was not going to let nobody else move away from his purpose. So if he's selfish on his purpose of helping others, then it is okay for you to be selfish on your purpose of whatever that thing is. Whether it's to help people, whether it's to make $1 million, please act on that and stay truthful to that passion. Because the one thing the universe is super, super giving to anybody who genuinely and specifically and intentionally goes after exactly what they're going after, you will get that. You want to be that top beauty person and you have intent and purpose behind it, you will be successful in that place. If your goal is to be a mom, then you want to put all your attention into that, then be the best mom possible. You'll become that best mom. But you have to be okay with like you said, the sacrifices, not living through your kids, being okay of being selfish with your own goals, and then understanding at some point you're not that little girl anymore. You've grown up. You're not that little girl anymore. You're not the little girl. You're not the little girl. That little girl has grown up. That little girl has learned some lessons. She had her hair was messed up at one point, but there has to be a point where you, I believe, as men and women or whatever, but we're speaking on women for this one. You as a woman, go ahead and pin that hair back. Go ahead, wash that face. Let's put our feet in the mud and let's really make it happen the way that God has designed your life and purpose for that. So, Luz, I appreciate it.
This was awesome.
We gotta have like a part like 20.
Oh, we was about to say we could
Yeah.
get like 3, 4 more parts to this because it was only really the beginning, you know, like a little glimpse. You have amazing questions. You said something that I'm very much in that part of my life, especially because people see me and they don't think I'm the age that I am. And I'm like, me too. We're right there. Like, I agree with you, but I'm not the little girl in my story anymore. I have one. So that's been really awakening. That's been, yeah, we gotta keep it coming. We need a part two. Don't pinch me, mom.
I
I'm
know
almost
that's
done.
no. I've held the little one has been begging for your attention. She
But
knows
you see how good she is, though? Like, I can't be mad at her for too long because I'm like, it could definitely be worse. She knows. It's the conversations we've had. This is her norm. And even though it made me question myself for a couple of weeks, I was like, nah, this has been in the works and she's part of the divine plan. So we're good. I have permission to continue on what I said I was going to do. And I'm grateful
and
for
we gonna.
people like you.
Oh, I appreciate that. Even though this is our only second conversation
No,
ever.
but you bring so much. Like, it feels like I know what I need to know about you. You show up, you're disciplined, you're a student, you you're a major asset to Digital Dynasty. So I know more of these are coming because I don't do this, and I think it's time. It's definitely time to share our stories more. So I really appreciate you for inviting me on. Are you okay? Mark, you
No,
heard
that's
me.
the way they say it. Okay, it's time to go. But yeah, thank you again. I'll make sure that everybody who's listening, everybody who's following, make sure I have a way to connect with you. Anything like that. So, any final parting words of you want to leave for the audience, leave for YouTube, leave for Spotify? Like any final thoughts, or you felt like you've left it out there for
I'm
people to
excited
interpret?
for the next one. I'm pretty much an open book. I always appreciate, people reaching out and sharing their stories with me too. I love letting people feel like they have someone they can trust to just be honest. So I hope I gave some of that. And yeah, we'll be plugged in. Part 2, part 3, part 4 coming.
Yeah, no, it's definitely coming loose. Thank you so much for your time. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Like this is, or
You
your, what
too.
is it, evening now? Yeah, evening
Night.
now, because
Yeah.
you see the sun coming down over here where I'm at, and it's probably already dark where you at. So
Yep.
thank you again. And this was a lot of fun. I can't wait for part two.
It was. Thank you, AE. I'll catch you on the
No.
flip.
Ah,